Namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudírayet. Nashta prayeshva padreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati nashtaki. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, continuing with Chapter 8, Prayers by Queen Kunti. We're on verse 22.
Yes.
1:8:22. Namav Pankajanapaya, Namav Pankajamaline, Namav Pankajanetraya, Namaste Pankajankraye. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My respectful obeisances are unto you, O Lord, whose abdomen is marked with a depression like a lotus flower, who are always decorated with garlands of lotus flowers, whose glance is as cool as the lotus, and whose feet are engraved with lotuses. Purport. Here are some of the specific symbolical marks on the spiritual body of the personality of Godhead, which distinguish his body from the bodies of all others. They are all special features of the body of the Lord. The Lord may appear as one of us, but he is always distinct by his specific bodily features. Srimati Kunti claims herself unfit to see the Lord because of her being a woman. This is claimed because women, Shudras, the laborer class, and the Dvijabantus, or the wretched descendants of the higher three classes, are unfit by intelligence to understand transcendental subject matter concerning the spiritual name, fame, attributes, form, etc. of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Such persons, although they are unfit to enter into the spiritual affairs of the Lord, can see him as the Archa Vigraha, who descends to the material world just to distribute favors to the fallen souls, including the above-mentioned women, Shudras, and Dvijabantus. Because such fallen souls cannot see anything beyond matter, the Lord condescends to enter into each and every one of the innumerable universes, as the Garbhotkashaya Vishnu, who grows a lotus stem from the lotus-like depression in the center of his transcendental abdomen. And thus Brahma, the first living being in the universe, is born. Therefore, the Lord is known as the Pankajanapi. The Pankajanapi Lord accepts the Archa Vigraha, his transcendental form, in different elements, namely a form within the mind, a form made of wood, a form made of earth, a form made of metal, a form made of jewel, a form made of paint, a form drawn on sand, etc. All such forms of the Lord are always decorated with garlands of lotus flowers, and there should be a soothing atmosphere in the temple of worship to attract the burning attention of the non-devotees, always engaged in material wranglings. The meditators worship a form within the mind. Therefore, the Lord is merciful even to the women, Shudras, and Dvijabantus, provided they agree to visit the temple of worship in different forms made for them. Such temple visitors are not idolaters, as alleged by some men with a poor fund of knowledge. All the great acharyas establish such temples of worship in all places, just to favor the less intelligent, and one should not pose themselves as transcending the stage of temple worship while one is actually in the category of the Shudras and the women, or less. One should begin to see the Lord from his lotus feet, gradually rising to the thighs, waist, chest, and face. One should not try to look at the face of the Lord without being accustomed to seeing the lotus feet of the Lord. Srimati Kunti, because of her being the aunt of the Lord, did not begin to see the Lord from the lotus feet because the Lord might feel ashamed. And thus Kunti Devi, just to save a painful situation for the Lord, began to see the Lord just above his lotus feet, that is, from the waist of the Lord, gradually rising to the face, and then down to the lotus feet. In the round, everything there is in order. Om Jnana Timirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaturmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Vanchakalpatarupyascha Kripasindhupya Cha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namah Pankajanaಭಾಯ Namah Pankajamaline Namo Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajam Kriye. My respectful obeisances are unto you, O Lord, whose abdomen is marked with a depression like a lotus flower, who are always decorated with garlands of lotus flowers, whose glance is as cool as the lotus and whose feet are engraved with lotuses. Jai. So, Shrimati Kunti began her prayers by saying, how can I understand you? You're beyond matter, you're transcendental completely. I'm just a girl. I'm just a poor. She's very humble. She's actually like a great devotee, but she's like, I've not gone to, you know, the Gurukula. I haven't studied the Vedas. I haven't learned to control my senses. I'm just a wife and a mother, a widow and a mother, and I'm in the world, and I'm not a great yogi, right? And that's the point. Is she's not a great yogi. And then she says, but you have appeared as Govind, as the son of Nanda Maharaj, as the pleasure of the cows and the senses. And so therefore she has this realization of him. She gets to have this opportunity to pray to him face to face, and she has this beautiful prayer where she's poetically describing his body in various ways and decorations on his body in terms of the lotus flower. The Prabhupada is making the point here that first of all, Krishna is a person. Our source is very personal. And as they say, love is in the details. So these prayers of the devotees, they contain sometimes these beautiful details about the Lord. This is first-class Sanskrit poetry. And she's pointing out that, for example, Pankajamkraye, Krishna's feet actually have marks on the bottom of them. They don't have just like regular feet wrinkles or whatever. You can't, like we have like these lines in our hands, and if you're really skilled, you can read somebody's palmistry, you can see their karma. Krishna doesn't have any karma, but his palms and the soles of his feet actually have very specific symbols, and they're very beautiful. In fact, in Vrindavan, it's described that the residents of Vrindavan could know when Krishna was around because they would see his feet, the footsteps in the sand. When Akrura arrived, he noticed the footsteps of Krishna and the auspicious marks, and he became overwhelmed with ecstasy, so much so that he jumped off his chariot and rolled in the dust. Said, oh, Krishna's here, Krishna's here. Because no one else has that. This is a specific marking. Krishna is not like you and I. This is not a material body. And Prabhupada spends a great deal of purport talking about deity worship, because deity worship is one of the great ways to I would say that it's one of the great ways that Krishna extends himself to us to help us see that he's a person, right? Because as Kunti Devi has established, if there is a supreme, just theoretically, if there's a supreme person and he's beyond matter and he's transcendental and he's beyond time, and here we are stuck inside the hourglass, stuck with a material body, stuck with, this tiny, tiny frame of our senses and our mind, we can't possibly break out of it. What chance do we have of understanding that supreme person? And the answer, just if you didn't even believe or understand or have any realization of Krishna, is that, well, somehow that person has to extend themselves to you, right? If you're drowning in the ocean, somebody has to throw you a rope. They have to throw you a life jacket. You cannot get yourself out in the middle of the ocean on your own. It simply cannot happen. If you dumped me in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and said, Shami Pras, I'll see you at the shore, I'll be like, it's been nice knowing you, without intervention. So Krishna intervenes. There's mercy intervention. And the Chaitanya Charitamrita mentions this. Maya mukta jiver nahi svata Krishna gyan, jiver kripaya kala Krishna Ved Puran. That bewildered, mukta. Everyone say mukta.
Mukta.
It means bewildered. It even sounds like you're confused. Mukta. Bewildered by Maya, the living entity cannot on their own come out of Maya. They cannot realize what's beyond Maya on their own. And therefore, the second half of the verse says, Veda Puran, Vyasadeva, he actually extends himself on behalf of the Lord to give the Shastra. That's another way that Krishna extends himself. So the deity is actually an incarnation. It's considered an expansion of the Lord. Why? For mercy. Because we're sitting here wandering around blindly from material experience to experience. We can't possibly guess at what's beyond that. It's like asking, an ant crawling under this building, living its ant life, to come to architecture school and learn how to build a building like this. It's like, what can you possibly do? There has to be something from beyond to empower. And so Krishna extends himself. He didn't have to do that. He's completely independent. That's what it means to be beyond the modes of nature. He's not obliged. He's not forced at all. He simply, out of his own sweet will, shows up again and again and again. Yada yada hidaramasya. Whenever and wherever there's a need, come, either personally or he extends himself in ways such as the deity form. And so there's a great deal made of the value of deity worship here, because Krishna is a person, and if you come to the stage of understanding that there's something beyond, we're not matter, that's very good, but it's incomplete until and unless one comes to this realization that actually I'm a person, the source is personal, and we have a personal relationship. That's very, very confidential knowledge. And so Prabhupada is pointing out that in this age of Kali, when there aren't really qualified Brahmins, there aren't real great yogis, actual qualified yogis, people who from a very young age have been taught to control their senses, become naturally detached from matter. They're not like sitting down to chant their japa, and like they're spontaneously thinking about food and sex and money and anger and sadness and drama and the latest, greatest television show. It's like, no, somebody who's beyond all that. We don't have that so much. This is Kali Yuga. And therefore, we need mercy intervention, really, because we cannot take this gradual, path of like, okay, do that whole thing and control the senses and become a great yogi and realize the impersonal Brahman. And, after a couple of lifetimes of that, being a sannyasi and living on the mountainside, like for, a couple thousand years, then you can actually like maybe become qualified to see Paramatma. That no, it's not going to work. There's no structure for that. There's no support for that. Who's going to teach that? Where's the ashram for that? Where's the long lifespan for that? Where's the place where you're not going to get billboards? God bless Vermont doesn't have billboards, but still there's advertising everywhere. There's, it's all pervasive. We all have our little iPhones and smartphones, and it's like it's not possible. So Krishna extends himself. And the Archa Vigraha is an expansion of mercy. And so Krishna shows, I'm a person. Here I am. And it's actually such sweet and confidential knowledge, because who could have guessed? Krishna actually will condescend, probably uses this word really interestingly. Mm-hmm. He says, does he say it?
The Lord condescends to enter into each.
Because such fallen souls cannot see anything beyond matter, the Lord condescends to enter into each and every one of the innumerable universes as Garbhadakshai Vishnu, from whom is expanded the material bodies and everything. So Krishna descends, but he also condescends. It's like when someone's like really talking nonsense and you're like, hey, listen up. Condescension is usually used pejoratively when someone's talking down to you. Krishna has to talk down to us, but it's not talking down from a sense of like a superiority complex. You stupid jivas, listen up. You are so in Maya. Like Krishna doesn't do that. It's not his mood. It's never his mood. Not in person when he was on the planet, not in Shastra. There's a lot of patience. In fact, the Acharyas explain Krishna's, sitting with Arjuna while there's this gigantic and incredibly important battle about to happen. Is Krishna like explaining, so many ways the absolute truth. And when Krishna at the end of the Bhagavad Gita says, have you heard attentively? And are your doubts now eradicated? Are you prepared to make a decision? It's a real question, the acharyas say, because if Arjuna said, actually, I'm not sure, Krishna would have been like, okay, guys, hold on. We got more here. And he would like go into overtime with Arjuna, and he would spend more time answering his doubts, clearing his mind, helping him come out of Maya, helping him see himself in the world, himself in, the modes of nature, all these different ways that he can connect to Krishna. Every chapter in the Bhagavad Gita is some kind of yoga. The first chapter is the yoga of despair, yoga of karma, the yoga of transcendental knowledge, yoga of meditation. It's like all yoga. So Krishna is very, very patiently, without, nasty, sarcastic condescension, reaching out to us. Basili has to descend because we're so pitifully small. And so the deity is actually like a beautiful expansion of Krishna in this way that here he is smiling at you and he'll accept your service. And it's like, what did you ever do to earn that? How did you ever deserve that? It's like Krishna just shows up in this form. And even if your worship is like all kinds of spotty, still he's there, smiling and ready to receive you. Just like in the heart, he's sitting there like, whenever you want to look at me, I'm here. So deity worship is actually a very authorized path. And it's an interesting thing because many Bhakti traditions are very critical of what they call idols. And actually so are we, because we don't actually create forms of the Lord whimsically. That's what idol worship is. Idol worship is like it's described in the Old Testament as like worshiping the golden calf and different things. This is a classic thing that conditioned souls do that cheat each other. It's like, here's God, I got God, or even worse. We talked about this the other day. Someone says like, I am God, just worship me. It's the ultimate form of idol worship. And that's a big no-no, to lead people astray with like, oh yeah, God is this, Of course, it's all about the bottom line, just about making money or collecting followers or, you know, getting like believers and like making yourself bigger in some way materially. That's an incredibly big offense. And so idol worship is condemned, particularly in the Abrahamic traditions. It's really, really powerfully condemned because they dealt with it, and they were created. Those religions formed in Kali Yuga, and idol worship was very much a problem. Um, I would say that idol worship is transformed now. It's more like we worship our iPhones and stuff. But basically, people have to put their attention somewhere. And the Shastra has very, very carefully and in very detailed ways described what Krishna's form looks like, including but not limited to those markings on his feet. So, like if somebody says they're Krishna, it's like, okay, show me your feet, show me your palms, show me your eyes, show me your navel. Manifest the universal form is right there in chapter 11 for a reason. This is not whimsical. Like Vyasada didn't make this up. This is very, very authorized. The acharyas see this over and over again.
Were his marks on all his avatars?
Yes. I think there's some specific ones that are only on Krishna, but they all have certain markings. Um, and and so it's consistent, right? Which it has to be. So Krishna's form has been worshipped the same way for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And we can see that actually if we go to different temples, not even just in India. There are forms like, for example, Nrsingadev worshipped around the world. People sometimes, modern archaeologists and religious historians are like, we don't know. And then the Vaishnavas are like, yeah, we know. We know. Because Krishna's been manifesting himself over and over again, not just in one little place called India, everywhere. Just India's just done a better job of preserving it. So there's this ancient and beautiful mercy expansion. And so we come to the temple or any place where Krishna is worshipped in his authorized forms, and we do some service with our senses that we are acquainted with. We know our eyes, we know our nose and everything. And so we offer some nice things. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in his commentary on the Nectar of Instruction that especially for householders, people who are not renunciates, they should engage whatever is their favorite thing of the objects of their senses and give it to Krishna. Right? Is your favorite food? Offer to Krishna, right? Is your favorite clothes? Offer to Krishna. You just got a new car? Offer to Krishna. It's like, give it to the deity. And because why? Because you can. And it's actually a beautiful way to exercise that giving muscle. It's like, here's something I can see in the modes of nature. Here is, I don't know, what, a flower? I mean, what is a flower? Flowers are just like these beautiful little things. And it's like, they just show up. They smell good. If you're lucky. Kali Yuga doesn't have flowers that always smell good, but it's like, and here's like a bunch of flowers. And other than if you go to Hawaii, where else are you going to find like a garland of flowers? It's such a whimsical, such a like aesthetically rich, but like practically useless thing. It's like, here's a bunch of beautiful, sweet smelling, colorful things you can be wearing around your neck. It's like, look at Krishna. We just did that for him. He's so kind. He accepts it. And then you can receive that back as prasadam. And actually, Uddhava, the great devotee Uddhava, he says in the 11th canto that by receiving your prasad, by receiving the remnants of garlands that have been offered to you, he says, we can transcend. We can cross over this ocean of birth and death. Krishna is so kind that he can show up and he can receive these offerings, right? And it's actually it's actually very practical deity worship, because anybody who's ever offered Krishna food has engaged in deity worship. And I said, well, I didn't have a deity there. It's like, you did, in your mind. In your mind, you had a deity. When you offered it, you chanted Hare Krishna, right? You're chanting Krishna's names, or you thought of Krishna. That's the offering. Krishna says in the 11th canto, on a chapter on deity worship, how you can manifest forms, authorized forms. And Prabhupada lists some of the forms. It can be in jewels, you can make it with sand, you can actually make it with stone, you can make it with wood. You can, in your mind, form a deity, and then respectfully ask the deity, okay, now you may go when your service is complete. And we see this in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. There is a very nice devotee. I believe his name was Kala Krishnadas. Maybe incorrect on that, but he was very, very humble. And let's see if I can remember this pastime properly. Yeah, there's two devotees. One was a Shudra by his material, standing. And so he really leaned into the whole, I'm just like the lowest person. I'm very humble. I have no place in society. Like, I'm insignificant. All the Vaishnavas are better than me. And he was famous for his great humility. And there was another devotee who had made a vow to take the remnants of the prasadam of every devotee in Bengal. It's like, I want to take the remnants of every devotee's prasadam. Whatever prasadam they've eaten, I want to eat the remnants of that food, because they have great potency. They're devotees. They're dear to Krishna. And their remnants are as good as Krishna's remnants and even better. And I want Krishna to know I'm the servant of the servants. And this is what I want to do. Like, I can't wait to do this. So he went to the other devotee's house, and he offered him a mango, an unoffered mango. He said, I just came to give you a gift. This is a nice mango. I just found it on a mango tree. Here you go. And he's like, that's so kind of you. And he said, I just have one request. Can I have the remnants of your prasadam? And the other devotee was like, actually, I'm a Shudra. I'm very insignificant. I cannot give, I don't consider myself greater than anybody. I cannot give the remnants of my food to you. That would be like me saying I'm your guru. I'm sorry, I can't do that. Don't mind. He's like, no problem, no problem. And so the first devotee, the humble devotee, the one who was taking the remnants of everybody, he went hid in the ditch outside his home. And it's described the devotee who received a mango offered it to Krishna in his mind, and then gave it to his wife, and they shared it as prasadam. And then he ate it, and then he threw it into the ditch, because it's just a mango seed. It's just gonna, it's organic compost. And the devotee jumped on it, took the remnants, because he wanted to honor the devotees in this way. So without being observed, without humbling and humiliating his host, the person who received the mango, he took the mango remnants. But the point that I was making is that you can offer to the deity in your mind. And that's deity worship. It's like, what business does Krishna have to show up in your mind? He's not forced to. How can you even think of Krishna? That's mercy. To be able to think of Krishna as mercy, to be able to visualize Krishna as mercy, to hear his name and to have it echo in your ears and in your inner ear, that's mercy. And so if you can do that, why can't you do this? Why can't you do, Radha Govinda in Denver, and Radha Shyamasundar in Vrindavan, and Radha Banki Bihari, and Radha Madhava, and why not? He's so merciful, he can do like that. So we are always grateful for these deity forms. And although Lord Chaitanya didn't focus on deity worship, he didn't actually open any temples of his own, he did do two things. One, he went to deity forms and temples everywhere he went. When he was a sannyasi and just traveling and chanting all day, what did he do? He went to temples. That was his daily activity. Like, where's the closest temple? And he would ask the pujaris and the local devotees, what's the history here? What has Krishna done? Ramachandra, what pastime took place? And he would just fall into ecstasy. And he would sing in front of that deity, right? And then he would dance and have public kirtan, then he'd go someplace else and do that again. The other thing he did was he empowered his followers, the 6 Goswamis, to do a few things. One is to compile Shastra, like Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction, so that people like us can understand what the heck is going on. And two is to establish deities, especially in places like Vrindavan, where incredibly important pastimes happened. And so Jiva Goswami in particular, and all the followers after him, have really focused on this. Jiva Goswami was the developer of the first basically will and testament in India in recorded history, because he wanted to protect the deities that Rupa and Sanatan, his uncles, and the other Goswamis had established the worship of, because he thought, who knows what's going to happen? And maybe he knew what modern India is like in modern Kali Yuga, but it's like, good job. Because here we are, it's Vrindavan, but still, Radha Banki Bihari, Radha Ramana, they're protected. They're there. Because Jiva Goswami made sure there was a trust. And so no matter what happens, no matter what change of government is there, the service to the deity goes on. And so it was very carefully given as an order by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he knew this is Kali Yuga. People ain't going to figure it out on their own. You know, they had 5,000 years after Krishna showed up. How was it working out for them? Not so good, right? Lots of distraction, lots of idol worship, lots of false gods, lots of lots of kings saying I'm God, lots of people saying no, I'll fight you. How dare you? It's this God. You will die for your your false God. And it's like, no, here's an extension of mercy. So we're grateful to Srila Prabhupada. We're grateful to our acharyas. And this third verse in the Sri Gurvashtakam actually talks about how the gurus, Vishwanath mentions 350 years ago, one of the qualities of the qualified acharya, as Prabhupada says, acharyas always establish temples of worship, is that they do that. And they teach their disciples how to worship that, because it's such a beautiful gift, right? And if we hear, like we're hearing now from the Bhagavatam very consistently, then the deity will transform from being what's called galagraha, a burden, a burden. Someone can see deity worship as just a burden. Oh, my guru is giving me this stone form to worship. It's like a stone around my neck. I got to get up and do this. If you hear properly from Shastra, then it transforms to Vigraha. Actually, Krishna will be looking at you and you'll see him. You will feel his presence. And that's such a beautiful thing. So this third verse, the Gurvashtakam, Shri Vigraha Radhana Nityanana Shringara Tan Mandira Marjanado Yuktasya Bhaktang Chanivan Jatopi Vande Guru Shri Chanradavindam. Shri Vigraha Radhana. Radhana, like the name Radha. Aradhana means to worship. Her very name means worship. He teaches, or she teaches, the worship of the Vigraha, the form. Nityanana Shringara, with various and beautiful decorations. Tan Mandira Marginado, and the cleansing of the temple. Cleaning the temple is actually deity worship. Therefore, if you want to really purify your life, make your home a temple. It's really simple. Get yourself a picture of the Panchatattva. How much does that cost? Get yourself a picture of Prabhupada, and make your home a temple. It's like, from now on, this is your temple. I am here as your pujari. I'm here as the attendant. I'm here to serve you. And then when you're cleaning your home, which you got to do anyway, right? Then you're a pujari. You're doing temple worship. And it's like, here I am cleaning Krishna's home. You're going to be in ecstasy. Shringara tan mandira marjanado yuktasya bhaktang chanivan jatopi. And the guru does that and teaches others how to do it. The yukta, they teach people how to be connected in that service. Vande Guru Shri Chanradavindam. Therefore, we offer respect to the lotus feet of the guru, because this is a beautiful service. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to all the Vaishnava acharyas, all glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for this beautiful deity worship line, that although we're so unqualified, even, by the mercy of actual devotees, I've been engaged in deity worship on very high level, but I'm still considering myself fairly unqualified. But Krishna is so kind that he keeps showing up. So we worship Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. It's a very, very authorized, very low bar of entry. You can all do is worship Gaur Nitai and have pictures of the Panchatattva. And we can be connected to Krishna this way. Tat Sat. So now we'll take any reflections on Krishna's mercy incarnation, deity worship, and his specific markings on his body and how he condescends. Hare Krishna. What did you hear?
I was thinking about how you said that to be able to think of Krishna as mercy, to hear Krishna's name as mercy, to picture his deity in your mind is mercy, and how our jop affirmation this morning too was about lamenting and hankering for the mercy to be able to understand that Krishna's in his name, and to have the taste, to have that ruchi, that taste for it, and to then even realize that it's mercy.
Yeah.
It's
so
take it for granted.
If you ever have an experience of teaching someone something when they're really new. Like with children, you have to deal with the fact that they take it for granted at first, right? Children take things for granted, and that's practically their dharma. They have to just take so much for granted until they can learn, recognize later after so long of utilizing that. Oh, wow, what a gift I've been given. Like speaking. How about that? Human being doesn't speak without a lot of help. You got to talk to your baby all the time before they learn to speak. Writing, that's a whole other thing. It's like, thank you, Mrs. or Mr. or Mrs. whoever you are. I don't remember your name. Taught me how to write. I get to read these books now. It's like we take so much for granted when we're really small. So Krishna is so great, and we're so small, and he's descending in so many ways, and we're like taking it for granted. We're taking for granted. I'm taking for granted the Maha Mantra, and so great devotees are praying like, in fact, that japa affirmation paraphrased Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Kabe
Yeah.
habe bolo shedina amar. When, oh, when will that day come? Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, when I will like truly feel your presence, when I will be free from this sickening pride that pollutes me, when I will like actually just be with you and truly be focused on you. Like this is a great realization, because when you realize I've been taken for granted, you're already more advanced than the person who doesn't even realize that. So it's a thing of like recognizing what we've been given. Therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions in other places too that gratitude is the beginning of bhakti. It's like almost adjacent to bhakti, because it's like when you realize how much you've been given, it's a natural thing to start to be like, well, I want to give back something, some attention, what can I do? Can I chant for you? Can I give you something? It's like we've been given so much. We've been given everything. And so our chanting process is like that even more so, because it's like, here's Radha and Krishna in sonic form. You can hear it in half a second, and everything is there. And take it until you can actually realize how fortunate you are in taking it. And then when you do, we see our great devotees, like the more advanced they become, the more they cry when they chant, the more like they're like, I can't believe Krishna's mercy in giving us these names. Like if you read Rupa Goswami's Namashtakam, you read 8 different stanzas, 8 different meters in 8 different ways. He's like, my mind is so blown about how great your name is, Krishna. And so our acharyas are giving like vision of how great Krishna's name is that we can't understand from our point of view. From our point of view, it's like, this is kind of cool. There's something here. I like that. But Rupa Goswami is like, I'm so blown away by you, Krishna. So yeah, at first we're like, okay, thanks for that. That's cool. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. But you stick with it and you realize like,
Yeah.
wow, Krishna, when will I actually be able to just be with you in this name and drop the crap, because there's so much here.
Right.
Yeah.
And then how fortunate we are to have that Krishna has manifested in a form in which we can worship like this as a
Yeah.
deity, and that it's not like just, oh, once you've been practicing bhakti for X amount of years, then you get deities. Like check that box, do the next, right? It's like this.
Yeah, like deity worship at the
know?
level of being initiated into the Gayatri mantras and going on the altar with all the formality, it's a beautiful thing, and it's also a longer term goal. It took me a few years of practice to get to that and to be able to practice at that. But deity worship is happening right away. These books are deities. Prabhupada said you can offer fruit to these books. You can put them on your shelf and look at them. You can worship. You can do arti for them. I had a picture of the Panchatattva. I would like walking around Toronto, if I saw a wildflower that I thought was cool, I would pick it and bring it back and offer it to the picture of the Panchatattva. And I would offer my meals to this picture of the Panchatattva and Srila Prabhupada. And that's deity worship. And I was like chanting 2 rounds a day, And Krishna's like, no problem. I got you. So you don't have to think like just because deity worship can get, and it does, get really, really elaborate and fancy and complicated. And that's beautiful. That's a glorious thing. I'm so glad actually that I got to experience deity worship at that level. But it doesn't mean that it's like all or nothing. That's material consciousness. It's like, guess what? The Maha Mantra is also incredibly deep, and I'm not tasting it. That doesn't mean I should stop chanting. It means I should keep chanting, because at my like grade 3 level of chanting, one day I'll be able to get to this William Shakespeare level of chanting. It's like, just keep going. Learn your ABCs. It doesn't stop, and it starts from the very beginning when you're like still bewildered. You don't even realize how fortunate you are to get these gifts. So thank you for that reminder.
And it's not like the achievement base. It's like the more love that is developed in your heart, genuine love for Krishna.
It's the achievement is in pursuance of love. Like if you love music, wouldn't you want to make it nice? Wouldn't you want to get good at it? once you want to like develop rhythm and melody, it's like, okay, you try, maybe you're musically gifted, maybe you're not, but you try. That's a symptom of love, is effort, right? So similarly in deity worship, you can like make a goal of, I want to get good at deity worship, and I want to learn this beautiful science of like Devi and like Lord Chaitanya and all these great acharyas and devotees. And how can I do that? And so therefore you can become more technically refined. There are techniques, punctuality and cleanliness, and like what flowers does he like, in what order. Like there's a technique, just like in music, there's techniques. But it's not about that's what makes you a devotee. That's a symptom of a devotee, not a cause. You're not a great devotee because you have the technique down. But if you're a great devotee, you may try to develop techniques so that you can please Krishna. Whether you can or not depends on the body you're given. That's not your problem. But the effort is always there. Devotees always try. I don't see devotees be lazy anywhere. Like great devotees are never lazy. They're always trying. Whether they have a beautiful voice, they're singing for Krishna. Whether they have an ugly voice, they're singing for Krishna. That's not the point. But they're always singing for Krishna. So similarly, we're not afraid of the techniques. We're not afraid of getting better. And we're not afraid if our subtle body or gross body isn't good enough for that, Like I can't decorate the deity. I can't do that. It doesn't work so well with my mind, because if I dress the deity, I'm there for like 3 hours doing what someone else can do in half an hour, because I'm just so detail oriented. It's kind of a problem. But I can do other things. I can offer him food, probably because I'm such a stomach oriented person. I can like, well, Krishna, at least let me feed you, because I know what it's like to be hungry. Right. So we work with what you got. But like it's a thing of like, hey, don't feel bad that you're wherever you're at. Just try to advance in this beautiful mercy expansion of whether it's deity worship or chanting or kirtan or cooking for Krishna or whatever, and start from your heart.
Mhm.
And surround yourself with people who are better and more experienced than you, and hear from them. That's how you get great. More reflections. What did you hear?
I was reflective on Kishore Prabhu when you were doing our mantra. You were talking about how like the mantra little reading before we did our mantra, like a neon ago. The last time I was here, I think, and you said that we turn the deity of Krishna's in our mouth, and I've carried that with me in this last couple of months, and it's when you really chant and you really think about the fact that you're bringing God into your body, into your mind. You go through that, oh, I'm so grateful stage. And then you slowly move into this, I'm an undeserving stage. Why does this mercy flow like this? And then you move into this is reciprocal love of one person to another. And deity it's incredible to say it as, it's not a solid thing. It could be a metaphysical thing. In fact, it often is. And it just gets stronger and stronger the more you devote into it. The mantra is it's incredible. It's truly medicine, because it starts training this crazy little mind that is so distracted, and then it's like, oh, this Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You say it all the time, and then all of a sudden it starts to transform. It becomes this bridge where you can like transcend and start working into your intelligence, into your Atman, and like realize what you are. And it's all about the deity, keeping it in your mouth, remembering when you're speaking the Maha Mantra that you're not just saying words, you're actually bringing Krishna into your mouth, and you're hearing him through your mouth. It's amazing. So I just wanted to offer that gratitude, because I've been holding that with me for the last couple of months.
Chai. Yeah. In bhakti, the means is the ends. We practice bhakti to come, and we're practicing like these, for example, chanting, and it's like, so we can chant more and deeper, and we're practicing deity worship so we can actually serve deity, the deity of the Lord in the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada said that the pujari has a very unique position, because their service in a way doesn't actually ever change. They may just leave their body one day, but they continue doing their garland service or whatever in the spiritual world. It's like, there it is. So we're given these practices at the level of practice, and then we start to realize like how Krishna is available now, because he's actually empowering these bhakti processes. So he's there in the practice itself, and then we work through those things of like shame and not good enough and what have you, and then we just embrace the mercy and try to give our heart back and see how Krishna is coming through more and more in whether it's chanting or deity worship.
Right.
Yeah.
And the deities start to show up everywhere. You start to
Mm.
see him everywhere.
Yeah.
Mm.
The other thing that Jiva Goswami said that I want to mention in his Sandarbhas is, because this is Kali Yuga, he says all the other angas, all the other limbs of bhakti, all the other forms of practice are nourished by hearing and chanting. He said that your hearing and chanting practice becomes the life of your deity worship, and without it, deity worship becomes actually obsolete and useless. And I mentioned that kind of in a roundabout way earlier, that if you don't hear properly, your deity will move back even from, oh, Vigraha to Galagraha, a burden, because you haven't actually like let the sound vibration enter your ear, so you no longer can see Krishna. So we're actually dependent, especially on the hearing process. That deity worship is in support of our chanting process. This is why like we don't go around every town and village is giving people deities and saying this is the main thing you got to do. It's in support of chanting, right? Because if they can chant Hare Krishna, that's the deity. That's the deity for this age. Krishna has manifested himself in the Mahamantra, in his names, all of his names. So that's our portable deity. And the Archamurti of Mahaprabhu, Varnitai, Radha Govinda, Jagannath, Baladev Subhadra, Krishna Balaram, this is in support of that, to keep us clean and punctual and remind us of the beautiful form of the Lord. And that's incredibly important. But the real deity worship actually begins with chanting and must be sustained with chanting. Says no less in authority than Jiva Goswami.
Mm.
Yeah, more reflections. Before I forget, I forgot to mention, my foot is like this because I'm just elevating it. It's a little injured. I'm not just like copping a lean over here. Any other reflections? Let's get one more. And everyone online tuned out because they had to get back to their other things. But I just
Yeah,
want to
we
say how
got-
awesome it was that we had like 11 or 12 people at peak. That was really cool.
Yeah, we did. We had messages like so beautiful and calming. The flower garland in Mahaprabhu's ocean blue is just magnetic, such beauty.
Yeah,
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank
there it
you.
is. Deity worship. Yeah. While I'm waiting for someone else to come up with a reflection, I'll reflect that in the third canto of Kapila Dev, he says that, how does he put it? He says, just by entering the temple, even a neophyte or somebody who doesn't know anything can become, what's the word? Like minutely or without their knowledge, liberated. Like just somehow they become liberated just by smelling the incense. It's like the whole atmosphere is like, what is this? And I think we've all experienced that, where you walk into a place where the worship of Krishna is going on. I had somebody come in here the other day, an old friend of mine, a devotee I knew from Denver. He's moved into the New England area. He wants to move up here actually. He came up here and said, wow, this temple room was really good vibes. And I said, yeah, the worship is going on. And even people who don't practice bhakti, they can be like, I don't know what's going on, but I like this room. Like the smell, the feel of it.
It happens with my energy, where clients that aren't devotees say that all the time. I don't know what that
they
is,
don't even, sometimes even
Yeah.
non-devotees can't even see the deity. Some great devotees have mentioned, like when they first came to Krishna consciousness, they lived in the ashram. For the first few weeks, they couldn't even see Radha and Krishna on the altar. They just like saw like some flowers, like this is kind of cool. They didn't understand the point. Like they couldn't understand that this is about those two young man and young woman being worshipped there, until they became more and more purified by prasad and kirtan and association. And then like they realized, oh my God,
Yeah.
whoa, but there's a way in which you become just like unconsciously, subliminally purified just by entering this temple space. So that's another benefit, is that making your home a temple. Guess what? If the postal service worker, Jehovah's Witness, guests, stray dogs, whoever walks in your home, they get benefit just by smelling that incense or eating that prasad or seeing the deity form. Okay, your turn. One more reflection.
So I had the opportunity to ask Keshava Swami a few questions about deity worship, and it was when I was very early on, and I still am very early on, and he said to me was, when you want to develop a relationship with someone, you go out of your way. You know, you even make yourself a little uncomfortable oftentimes for your guest or your friend that you're trying to like bring into your life. And so what a gift to be able to have the deities to like, you know, okay, I'm gonna take time out of my day to do this because I really want to develop a relationship with this person. I want to give them beautiful, nice food because like this is how we do. Like, so if Martin, you were coming to my house, I want to make you delicious food and I want to make the house look nice. And you know, and I want the house to be clean. And that's how we as humans like interact and how we develop relationship, and just that's all we know. And so I just think it's really beautiful that Krishna's given us this deity practice, because like how, I mean, again, we can chant, I mean, and that's going to support our deity worship, but that deity worship just really allows us to like, I don't know, just really have that sense offering.
Yeah.
That's all we know to be able to bring him close to us and have us, you know, it's really like it's kind of selfish, like for because I get to do this and I get to see him and I get to do all these things, but in engaging my senses, but it's the only way we know how, and I just think that's just amazing.
Consider it from the perspective of somebody who's already in the spontaneous platform. Let's say you went to like a mother of a child and like, guess what? I got good news for you. You don't have to take care of your child anymore. They're going to be automatically fed with a machine. They're going to have all their needs met. You don't have to, like, you're going through so much trouble waking up in the middle of the night and like feeding them and holding them and all this is like, what are you talking about? I live for that. Are you kidding me? Yeah, maybe I can sleep better. That's one thing, but don't take my baby out of my hands. I live for the burden. And it's described, and even Shastra says, like, for the mother, a child, the burden of the child is actually like their body. It's actually like love. It's like, you don't want to take that away. So it can start as like a feeling of a burden, but if you take it in a manageable way, it's like, oh, I gotta like, okay, all right, let's try this, like offering this small thing. Then you realize like, oh, this is really fun. I like it, you know, and then it's like, as you said, you feel like, wow, I feel like I'm getting away with something.
Yeah.
Everyone's calling me a great devotee for worshiping the deity, but I know, and you know, Krishna, I'm getting more than anybody being on this altar. Like, I'm just getting nourished by your beautiful face and everything. So there's a like a science to kind of engaging in a way where you're not freaking your mind out by trying to do too much at once, but leaning into discomfort. It's like, hey, you know, it can feel like a burden, and anything can feel like a burden. Hosting a guest can feel like a burden, but try telling your host, like, guess what? I don't want to receive your care. It's like, what happened to the relationship? You know, there's got to be like, it's a point of pride. You know, it's like, no, you sit down. I want to feed you. Like, and I want to make sure you enjoy it. It's like, that's where the joy is. That's where the nectar is. Like, I made this beautiful thing. I want to watch your face when you eat it. Like, you know, so it doesn't matter if you sweated over that stove. It doesn't matter. Like, that's where the payoff is. So similarly with deity worship, with anything, it's like, you try to apply yourself, you try to go out of your way. And from Krishna's point of view, it's like really insignificant attempt. You try to do something for him. And he's like, wow, you tried. And he reciprocates, and then all of a sudden your heart is full. You're like, wow, why am I so happy? So that's how it works. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Now let's offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees. They can fulfill the desires of everyone and are full of compassion for all the fallen conditioned souls. Jai Vansha Kalpatubhyascha Kripa Santubhyeva Chapajitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Have a great day, everyone.